Yeah, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Toon Review on a very somber day, it has to be said. Of course, the passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II yesterday. Obviously, out of pure respect, we cancelled the show yesterday because it was just, there was no point doing it anyway because we knew the games were going to be called off. We had a big feeling they were going to be called off. But tonight we'll just we'll talk about her. We'll talk about, Billy's got some stuff on her, what she did for sport in this country. We'll talk about Newcastle as well. And if you want, we'll talk about it with me mixing with the stars. I mean, just surreal experiences, guys. But anyway, welcome to the Toon Review, and we hope you're okay tonight. Like I say, it certainly wasn't appropriate to do a proper TTR Friday show. Just no way could we do that because it wouldn't have seemed right. But we do obviously want to talk a bit about Newcastle, of course. Karius has signed on a short-term deal. We'll be discussing that and just what the impact is of obviously having that little bit of extra time now to get players fit, etc., and get, we don't know when we're going to play again because, of course, next week it may be that the games are cancelled because of funeral arrangements and stuff like that. So we don't know what's going to happen. It may well be that we may not play football for a while. So, we're not going to go into we're not going to discuss, the matches being cancelled. We're not getting into that tonight. Look, that decision has been made. We're not going to talk about it. It's made for a reason. And as far as I'm concerned, they've done the right thing. I know a lot of people will say, well, about football and, giving it, but you can give your respect to when we next play. Certainly. No problem at all.
And I'm sure
it wouldn't be right. Thank you for Gary Wishart, £5 super chat off the belt. Thanks for doing this show at this time, and shout out to Billy for the help. 22 years of service and still the Queen passing will always hurt very bad. It's affected many, many people, Danielle. And of course, we were all on the chat last night. We had a feeling what was coming, didn't we? All day we were on the Toon Review chat and on WhatsApp, and we had a feeling, didn't we, that this was coming. The news was, Billy, you said it yourself. You thought there'd be an announcement once the family were all together. Obviously, Harry didn't get there in time, but he obviously knew. And obviously, it was with his blessing that they released that she'd passed before he actually got to Balmoral. But we had a feeling. You don't call the family like that. I mean, Danielle, whether you're a royal or you're not, you cannot do anything but admire what this lady's done.
Absolutely. I mean, 70 years she's been monarch. She's been a constant in all of our lives for what we remember, and every time of happiness or sorrow in the country, she's always been there to be relied on. She's come out, with wise words and words of advice for the country and reassurance at times of trouble. And I think for me, it's the reality that we no longer have that, which is incredible. Yesterday for me, just the worst feeling when we found out about our health and the concerns around our health, and then
came very quickly, didn't it? Because just 2 days ago, she obviously met Boris Johnson, as he stepped down, and then met Liz Truss. And we saw that picture. What a lovely picture, by the way, for our last ever photo. As we knew her, with a big beaming smile on her face, but she looked very frail, I must admit. But she's 96. She's going to look frail.
Absolutely.
But it's a nice photo to be the last one, Billy, isn't it? Just with that beaming smile.
Yeah, she was just a friendly, affable, fun-loving person that epitomised not only her age, but our age too. She modernised the monarchy into the technological age that we live in now. And some people kind of accuse old people of being set in their ways, and that the Queen was nothing like that at all. She was an innovator, and as much of a she got on with every king. The whole thing she went through in the 60s and the 70s and 80s and 90s. She advanced with it all, and in some cases led it as well with her husband, with the animal welfare stuff and the her sons with the environmental stuff. Yeah, she's a fantastic kind of role model for everyone in this country, a fantastic leader of this country, and probably the best monarch this country's ever seen. So it's a sad day now she's gone.
I mean, look, she was inspirational. I mean, she was queen when we were all born. We've known nothing else. And I met I shook the Queen Mother's hand when she came to Durham Cathedral once. The primary school we were at took us up, and we were there all lined up as she went in, and she shook our hands, and I jumped around like a crazy excited kid just because that was the Queen Mother. But the Queen, she's always had that kind of, I mean, it's like you said earlier today, Danielle, on the chat, she just, to do that for 70 years, and every time she stepped out in the public eye, she'd be scrutinized for what she was wearing, how she looked, how she, portrayed herself. And she just did it with such grace every single time.
She did. And I think, being honest and being fair, there's been a lot of challenges for her in our reign over the time. We had the divorces with, Fergie and then obviously Charles and Diana, and then everything that happened after that in terms of the death of Diana, and the kind of almost a flicker of a turn in the country, that perhaps people weren't overly happy with the way that situation was handled, where she had to come out again and address the nation and kind of really appeal as a grandmother to say, I'm with my grandchildren, this is what I'm doing, but I'm here and I understand and I hear what you're saying, which is really, really important. Absolutely. I remember seeing the headlines like, where is our Queen, and and everything like that. And I remember that was a really pivotal address but she's had some really, and then losing Philip, obviously, like a partner in life.
I mean, that one in Westminster, that photo at the end where she's sitting just all on her own. And there's a lovely one being put on social media today where it's got the ghost of Philip, if you like, sitting next to her, just reaching over to her, saying, "You're with me now," and it's kind of really touching. Francisco, thank you for your $5 super chat. He says, Paul, Danielle, and Billy, hope you're all doing well despite the circumstances. May Her Majesty, RIP, deepest sympathies, and may God give you all strength. And Toon Dave, thank you for your £5 super chat. RIP Queen Elizabeth II. Thanks for doing the show tonight, guys. Very sad and upsetting for sure. The only queen we've ever known. And that's the thing, isn't it, Billy? By the way, good evening, Susan. She's in the house, and thank you to Susan for putting that little bit together with the national anthem at the start. She did it in a very short space of time, so thank you very much, Susan. It was absolutely superb. Perfect sort of beginning to the show for us, really. It's all we've ever known, Billy. So it does seem very, very strange, doesn't it? It's a kind of surreal atmosphere. It's, I was down in Leeds today with my little lad, he's filming trains again, as he does, but we had a little walk about Leeds, and it was a real somber atmosphere. There was no sort of, it wasn't very loud, it wasn't bustling, it was just that kind of atmosphere that you'd probably expect. And even the buskers, they were all just singing quiet songs. They weren't sort of, making themselves loud or anything like that. And it's just just incredible, because we don't know what to do, how to handle it. Emotions have been all over the place from everybody. And it's just a very strange, surreal atmosphere.
And it's the whole thing with the royal family has been strange in my family for years. My granddad and I've followed the same similar sort of path. You know, he always taught me that privilege meant nothing. You know, that they're not better than you. And yet, with the royal family, he kind of scrubbed that out and actually believed that they were the people to look up to. Because every time there was a Queen event, which we touring the Commonwealth or the World or the Silver Jubilee, he'd be up before the first man singing the national anthem. And I've been very much similar to that. I can't help but love the royal family, despite being totally against what they really stand for. But you just can't help it. They're just fantastic role models and ambassadors for our country, the country that we all love. Not having that now, the little sort of changes of life, you know, the coins, the stamps, having to say king in the national anthem, having to say king full stop.
Strange,
you know,
really strange.
It's weird saying the word king. And I think I really don't want to emphasise the G at the end because it sounds really weird. But, you know, it's just odd. It's odd about everything. And it's kind of that spot at the minute where we don't know when things are going to happen. We know what's coming, obviously, but we don't know when. So we're in kind of we're waiting for things to kind of be official, and then we can sort of get on with things. But Absolutely. At the minute, it's really hard. It's really tough.
Ricard Anderson, thank you for your 100 Swedish krona, my friend. Sympathy to all you British in the Toon Review family from a fellow monarchy, Sweden. And Ian Fleming, thank you for your £10 super chat. Hi, Paul, Billy and Danielle. I met the Queen when she came up to Berwick. Could not believe how down to earth she was. R.I.P. Look, I mean, I'll be honest here, right? I'm not really into the royal family, if you like. There's a few of them I really like. There's a few of them I really don't. And it's fair to say that, you know, they've had the fair share of downs, certainly during the Queen's reign. There's no doubt about that. And, you know, we're not even going to discuss all the negative crap that's on social media, the disgraceful things that are said, you know, because we know there's people out there like that. What I'm trying to say is the way the Queen has dealt with it. That's why I kind of see her as just... I was more upset than I thought I would be, to be honest. And I think it's the way she's handled everything in the past. You know, I think, you know, I was listening to the radio, taking my daughter to work this morning, and there was a lot of calls coming in just saying, look, I'm not really sort of that much into the royal family, but when there was trouble, like coronavirus or things like that, everybody looked to the Queen for what she was going to say. And it was that calming voice that sort of steadied the nation, if you like, and just gave you that sense of calm, not to panic. And, you know, she was with us. And, you know, it's all right, these arseholes sitting on, or they take money off her tax and all this crap. Bollocks, right? She didn't have to do what she's done for 70 years. And she's done it with so much grace, right? Whether you like some of the royal family, like I don't, you know, or you do. It's up to you. But this woman, you cannot do anything but adore her, as far as I'm concerned.
I agree.
She's just a wonderful, or she was just a wonderful human being, and somebody that we will never forget, because we've spent many, many years of all our lives only knowing her as the Queen. And like Billy says, it's going to be very, very strange with seeing Charles on coins,
on
Christmas Day speech. I haven't heard what he said in his speech tonight. I gather it was fantastic. So
very touching.
I will listen to that a bit later on. And well done to him, because look, this is his mum. Whether, you know, away from the royal family, right? This is his mum who's passed away yesterday, who he spent. Well, how old's Charles? 70 something, is he?
73, yeah.
73. 73 years he spent with this woman. He's going to be absolutely devastated. He lost his dad only not long ago. And now his mum's gone. In relatively, you know, what we think is quick. I mean, he might have known better that she wasn't very well. She might have been putting on a face on Tuesday when she met the Prime Minister. But, you know, he'll be devastated. But for him to pull himself together to do what he's done today, and by all accounts, he spent loads of time shaking people's hands and meeting the public.
Honestly, it was
incredible.
Outstanding. Like he stood for a while and shook hands. He got a kiss on the cheek off a lady in the crowd. Everybody was just so, you know, open and showing sympathy and shouting, God, you know, I don't want to say it because I can't get used to the fact that he's king right now. Long live the king, they were shouting. And
it's bizarre. It really is. And it's something that we're going to have to get used to very, very quickly, because he is the king now, although God knows when the coronation will be. You know, I think it was a year before Queen Elizabeth was coronated.
Yeah, 14 months, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I
want to give you a little bit of historical context, though, because Charles and the Queen do differ. When the Queen was born, she could not have foreseen that she was going to be the monarch of this country.
Yeah,
because
that's right.
that there was a line before her father that was going to be king, which was Edward VIII. Of course, he abdicated. Her father, King George VI, didn't want to be king. He never wanted it. He was
well. That's why
a social person.
When he abdicated, he moved to he went to France, I think, didn't he? He was
basically banished,
banished by the royal family. Yeah,
they tried to make him governor of the Bahamas, but he was kind of friends with the foe we were fighting at the time, Mr. Hitler. Edward VIII was. That's by the by. But the King George VI became king without wanting to, and then of course that put our, I was going to say, current Queen Elizabeth in the role as first in line to the throne. She was never, anticipated being that. 16 years later, she was. But King Charles, Christ, I'm at it already. King Charles has waited 73 years, knowing that this moment would come at some stage. So that's where the difference is between him and his mother. She couldn't have foreseen being queen ever because of, how many applications have been in British history? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. But she was away, wasn't she? She was away with Philip. I think at the time, because her father was too ill to do the tour. So Elizabeth and Philip went on the tour, and he passed away while she was away. And then suddenly she was thrust into it straight away when obviously she had to come home and she was queen. It just, and that's what I mean. It was thrust upon her so quickly. And then to do, Danielle, what she's done for 70 years, this is a remarkable woman.
She's remarkable, doesn't do her justice. Like I said earlier in our chat, she's a trailblazer for women. Like at her 27 years old, she became queen in a man's world. And let's be honest, it was a man's world. The things that she has done for women in this country and how progressive she's been, as the years have passed and the decades have passed, how she has adapted her life and tradition to fit in with that. Unbelievable. Like I was saying earlier that, she paid for our wedding dress with ration vouchers.
I know.
Coupons. She leads from the front and she leads by example. So we'll look again at, Philip's funeral. While Boris was down in his red wine, she was sitting on her own, leading from the front, setting an example to say to the British public, I'm here and I'm doing the same as you are. And I'm feeling your pain, just like many, many thousands of other people across the country have gone through the same thing. She was just, she wasn't even a role model. She was more than that. She dedicated her whole life to being our servant. She called herself, she addressed the nation as your servant. And I honestly didn't realise that I would feel the way I feel right now, but I just don't think things will ever be the same ever again. But what a woman!
And you have to appreciate too. In 1936, when King Edward VIII abdicated, the monarchy was at its lowest rate popularity was ever. People didn't want the monarchy anymore, and King George VI and the Queen Mother, Queen Elizabeth, who was the Queen at that time, became the Queen Mother. Took to the throne through World War II. They refused to move from London. They travelled around the whole country, visiting bombed out cities. They kept morale up, and I think the Queen Elizabeth II, obviously, it's in her genes that she's going to be the same and lead from the front. She actually was in active service at the end of the war, so all of this kind of leadership stuff, it's inbred in her from her father and mother, and that abdication, that's probably the luckiest thing that ever happened to this country. Yeah,
without a shadow of a doubt. Up the A1's asking where Alex is tonight. He's had to pull out the show at the very last minute. He's got something's come up that he's had to deal with very, very quickly. So unfortunately, he's not on the show tonight. But he was ready to come on with his. He actually had a black suit, I think, to wear tonight, which is. But he can't be with us. So, but he's okay. He's fine.
It's just in spirit.
Exactly. Weird how most of you in Britain seem to be genuinely upset over the death of the Queen, whereas here in America, a lot of people actively wish of the. Well, yeah, politics is very different in the United States, and the Queen's not really anything to do with politics in this country. I think that's what differs.
She doesn't make the laws. She doesn't tell us, what to do and what not to do.
She just tells them to set a government up and get on with it, kind of thing. She's been dedicated to us all, says George. Rachel says, R.I.P. Mum, I'm heartbroken an incredible monarch, an amazing woman. Paul says, the passing of the Queen brings back the memory of the passing of my mum in late March. Thank you again, Paul, for this show. You're very welcome, mate. And thoughts to with you for your passing of your mum as well. I wept, and I don't know why, but knew she'd passed once the news continued to be on, and saw the black ties. Still tearing up today, and actually proud of Charles in his speech. You could see how upset he was. Danielle, you picked this up very, very early on yesterday about the newsreaders all suddenly wearing black ties. I think, Billy, you did as well. All wearing black ties, black suits. They'd obviously been not obviously told that she passed away, but they'd obviously been told to expect the worst because you know when they announce something like that, they would have to have the black ties and everything as this what is it? London has fallen or something like that. London Bridge.
It's protocol. So any kind of media or any kind of journalists, etc., always have to carry clothing in the event that something like this happens. So for me, when I had a nightmare day yesterday before that, but by the time I got home yesterday, don't laugh, Billy, and put the TV on, and I started to flick through the news channels, and I'm seeing people in suits and black ties. I'm thinking there's more to this than, there's a concern for our health. Very sad, very, very sad, and a moment in history. Really, we will never, ever see this again in our lifetime. I know that Charles won't live forever, but
it's been a bizarre couple of years, though, hasn't it? I mean, if you think about it, the coronavirus and we've lost so many big names in the last couple of years have gone. And I suppose as sort of, we've lived with these people since we were born. This eventually was going to happen, obviously. But it puts us in a state of sort of a little bit of uncertainty again, and sort of a lot of people who are big royal family people will be sitting thinking, how is Charles going to do this? Because, like Billy said, Charles probably disagreed with a lot of the Queen's thoughts and has over the years, and Charles hasn't exactly been a people favorite really since all the Diana thing. He's been, I think he is now, don't get me wrong, but at the time of Diana's passing, I think everyone kind of targeted Charles, and he was seen to be the bad boy in it all. But look, I think he's...
And being honest, I think at the time I felt like that.
Yeah.
I did feel, because I felt like the energy and the people's sadness had to be directed somewhere. And it was directed either at the royal family themselves or at Charles. But I think, you can look back and say perhaps if Charles had been allowed to marry Camilla in the first place, and, then we wouldn't have William and Harry. So you've got, things happen for a reason. And I think Charles and Camilla, the work that they do for the Prince's Trust and for the many charities that they're patrons of, I really feel, and he said in his address, which you'll see later, is that he's going to change in terms of his delivery and his thought process and his ability to adapt to new situations. And that's going to take time, but he's been bred for this. Like, I think the Queen said that she didn't have any, not training, that's not the right word. She was just thrown into it. But I think Charles has been schooled from a very, very young age, and he's lived the life. He's seen his mum live the life, and he knows what the duties are expected of him, and he's taken that on immediately. So he's already made William Prince of Wales, Catherine Princess of Wales, mentioned Harry and Meghan as well, expressing his love for those two.
He mentioned Meghan as well.
He did, and I think
well done to him for that as well, because
I think step, because I think the relationships need to be healed. I think they need to be healed,
and maybe this will, because I think I've seen some horrible stuff written about Meghan again. Nobody knows what's really gone on, right? Everybody's blaming Meghan and things like that, but we don't know. And the thing
I think ultimately, doesn't everybody have some relatives or families that have, that kind of relationship, perhaps?
And has anybody ever thought that maybe Harry didn't want the limelight anymore and didn't want that? He just wanted a quiet life. Would you blame him
after his childhood, after what he's experienced, the trauma that he's had in his life? And I don't know. I just feel like Charles will step up, and I think I trust.
Well, I hope
him.
He can repair everything. I think that will sort of. it'll be a boost for the nation. I think that, you know, those people that do support the royal family, if he does something like that and pulls them all together again, maybe he's not obviously bringing Harry and Meghan back into the fold because it's clear they don't want that, but to be close again. And I think, you know, given, you know, the fact that Charles has now lost both his parents in such a short space of time, this might just be a thing to him to, you know, as you say, step up and sort it all out. And for maybe William and Harry as well to step up and just all become one again and just not have this kind of in-family fighting, if that's what you want to call it. But it's I'm pleased you mentioned Meghan, because I think she does get a rough ride. And, you know, at the end of the day, it's all about family. And whether they're the royal family or just an ordinary family, it's still the same. It's family. And I think that has to be put right, Billy.
100%. I think reconciliation will be the first act that he'll try and achieve. And by doing that, create a united front amongst the whole family. Obviously, there's one member that won't be involved in that. We won't mention his name. But yeah, I was pleased he mentioned Meghan and Harry. Harry, of course, hasn't been set on the same tracks as William has. William was always going to be a monarch of this country. He's going to be one of within the next in the next 30 years. He'll be King William, whereas Harry was never like Queen Elizabeth wasn't on the track to be the king. And so, and he was much younger when his mother died, and it's been tough for him to deal with what happened to his mum. Obviously, at a younger age, he did go off the rails a little bit. We can remember all the pictures and what he was doing and stuff. But I've always liked Prince Harry. He was a kid. He's got a bit of a rebellious streak as well. I like Prince Harry. I want Prince Harry back in the fold. I think a lot of people do. I want King Charles to have his whole family around him, because I think he needs it. But what I've seen today of King Charles, he's followed in his mum's footsteps. He's always been personal and affable as a gentleman. But he could have easily just gone straight and had a look at a few flowers and walked in and not acknowledged the crowd, and they'd have understood in his grief he could have done that. But what he did, he did the walkabout, and he walked a long way, shaking everybody's hand. And I thought it was an amazing gesture from him. And again,
I think that shows progression. I think it shows that they're learning lessons from the past where perhaps that wasn't done, and there was a bit of a reaction from the country to say, hang on, like you can't just dismiss everybody else's grief, which sounds selfish really, because he's the one that's lost his mother. But I just think it shows that he's moving with the times, and he really has learned. So, I'm behind him 100%. I think the next 10 days is going to be difficult for the country. I think there's a lot ahead with the funeral arrangements and everything that comes before that, with the line in state, etc. But, I think we all knew it was going to happen. We just didn't know when. And I think probably we didn't want it to happen. But, she's very united with Philip. That's the way I look at it. She's obviously broke her heart when he passed away.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, they were together for... I mean, Scotty, I don't know what the hell this is supposed to mean, but Jesus Christ, man. How about you have some respect? It's people's... If people want to super chat, they'll super chat. Doesn't mean they're not respecting. What a ridiculous thing to say.
Jesus
Christ. Exactly. Not once have I mentioned it. So don't
this is
be
what
an
I mean,
absolute idiot, man.
I just feel like it's bringing out some... I've seen some very strange behaviour in the last 24 hours.
Absolutely. Dan says, personally, I'd almost prefer to retire the national anthem, as it feels like it's the Queen's anthem. As it's been here for so long, it feels wrong to change it. Well, I mean, look, it's going to stay. God Save the King is now going to be the national anthem. I mean, it's... They won't change the national anthem, absolutely. But I can see where you're coming from. It's all we've ever known, and those people that have been, on this planet a lot longer than us will 70 odd years of the Queen. They'd be singing, right? I've got to sing "God Save the King." It's very strange. Good evening, KB. Hope you're well. Renier says, does it really change anything? I know that the Queen is loved, but do you guys believe what will happen now? Charles will surely be decent at the job. I don't think Charles will actually see it as a job. I think you just see it as, I think he want to make his man proud, is what he probably...
He sees it as a dedication to his life. So he said that. He said, I say the same thing that my mother said all those years ago, that I dedicate my life to serving you. So
yeah, absolutely. Graham says, I'm not a royalist. However, I cried when the news broke yesterday, despite being 52. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I think what got me was when they said she'd passed away and then they played the national anthem. I think with her face, and I think that got everybody, to be honest. And if it didn't, fair enough, but it
all the
certainly
clips
did me.
that you've been seeing, though, like all the funny things that all the stories that people have been telling about how funny she was and how humorous she was, and I've always imagined her like that. I thought she was a right cool granny behind closed doors. Like, I honestly do. I think she had a right sense of humour, and all those stories are just lovely to hear. Like, Theresa May said a lovely one in Parliament today about when she was at the palace for like an event and she dropped cheese on the floor and she thought no one was looking. So she had to make a quick decision as to what she was going to do with this cheese. Would she pick it up or would she not? So she picked it up quickly, put it back on the table, turned around, the Queen was eyeballing her, like, and she was like, I smiled at her.
Yeah.
And she smiled back and the cheese stayed on the table. So
exactly.
like, I just think what a woman. I would have been privileged to have met her.
I think the obviously you would look back to 2012 and the sketch you did with Daniel Craig for the James Bond. I mean, by the way, guys, I've heard a few people say, "Oh, she jumped out of plane." It wasn't the Queen that jumped out the plane, by the way. That was a stunt double. She was in no way, going to jump out of an airplane. So but it was the way it was all put together was brilliant. And certainly the fact that she put that sketch together with him. And was all game for it. That just sort of, like you said, Danielle, brought out a humorous side and let everybody see that she does have that side. And of course, then you've got the Paddington Bear film as well. And I've seen some lovely little pictures on social media of walking off into the background with Paddington. It's lovely. And those are the kind of things that Billy showed off just what kind of woman she was.
Yeah, the Paddington one breaks me every time I see it. I cried when I see the Jubilee was doing it. So now that she's no longer
you said
with us,
yesterday, Billy,
it gets me every single time. It gets me every single time. She had a fantastic sense of humour. You see it with the Royal Variety performance, laughing along with the comedians, whether it be one of the old comedians like Ronnie Corbett or Bruce Forsyth, or some of the modern comedians like Lee Mack. You've seen her sit there laughing. She's got a fantastic sense of humour. She joins in with everything. She was a massive Beatles fan. When the Beatles came on the scene, she used to go and watch those and performances, especially for them from the Beatles and things like that. She just came through with everything. She was a modernising queen, and whether Charles could be the same as that, perhaps it doesn't need to be. Perhaps the Queen's done it all for him, but she'll never be forgotten in this country because we've had 2,000 years of monarchs in this country. There ain't been a better one than Queen Elizabeth.
No, I agree.
And I think the funeral, etc., will be very emotional for obvious reasons. But
it's going to be quite shocking, I think, because
I
think with it being such, we've not seen a state funeral, well, not in my lifetime. I know they did kind of a semi-state funeral for Diana, like as a kind of gesture from the royal family.
The next level,
this is going to be something else. This will be, in the line in state. I know they did that with the Queen Mother, but I think even people who aren't royalists that they're taking notice because, like I said, it's a moment in history. Like this is we've seen the very first speech from the King. Like who even saying that sentence.
But that's a moment of history that we're living through. We have now lived through the first ever speech for a king.
From the king, from Charles III
for 70 years. I mean, Jesus, it is the things that we've lived through for moments in history in the last 3 or 4 years is quite incredible when you think about it. But Billy, she was into sport as well, wasn't she? If we move to the sports side, and she was very much into her horses, of course, and the horse racing. But you've got some bits and bobs there about the sporting aspect of a monarchy as well.
Yeah, well, before she even became queen, of course, the first Olympic Games that were held after the war was the one in London, 48. So she attended that with her father and her mother. Obviously took a keen sportswoman with horses, as you say, 3-day eventing and that sort of thing. And then 8 years later, as Queen of Australia, she'd have been the head of state for the Melbourne Olympics, 56. Fast forward 20 years to the Montreal Olympics, Canada again, she's the head of state there. So, yeah, so she's moved forward then to 2012, 2000, Sydney, Australia, and then 2012, of course, which was her real Olympics were home Olympics, where she virtually attended every single day, as far as I can remember. But like you say, cup finals, she was the last person to hand a Newcastle United captain a cup, a domestic cup in 1955 when she handed Jimmy School the FA Cup. I think the last cup final she went to was the 76 one, Southampton Man United. Not really a football fan, but of course, the highlight of her football watching would have been the 66 World Cup, where she handed Bobby Moore the World Cup. But horses were a real passion. Her daughter was, of course, Princess Anne was Sports Personality of the Year in '71 for her 3-day eventing stuff. She won Burley or badminton that year, and was an Olympian in '76 also in that sport, as has been a daughter. The horses I've run through. An owner of some great race horses. The 2013 Ascot Gold Cup she won. Her horse won Estimate. And the 1977 Silver Jubilee year, her horse Dunfermline managed to win the Oaks and the St Ledger, 2 classic races. Doesn't often happen where a female horse, a filly as her own, wins 2 classics. So, yeah, remarkable in many ways and sporting achievement also.
I mean, it's incredible, and of course, she presented our captain with the FA Cup last time we won it. There's pictures of that all over the place as well. So, and I didn't realize this, but I was watching last night, just trolling through YouTube, and I came across this thing where she'd been across to Canada, and of course Canada's part of our Commonwealth. So she'd actually attended a few ice hockey games, which I was astounded of. She'd walked onto centre ice with Wayne Gretzky, who's the greatest player of all time, and he's very highly thought of. And they both walk on, and she did a ceremonial, puck drop at the start and shook the players' hands, and just incredible. And wherever she went, she had that just incredible aura. And that's why, like I said earlier, some of the royal family I don't bother with, but you cannot just look at the Queen and think, oh, I don't know how anyone can, especially, being Queen for all of our lifetime. We've never known anything different. And she was always there, that voice of calmness. And, I just remember, as a young kid, Christmas Day, it was always like 3 o'clock on the dot. Everybody had to go around the TV back in the day before mobile phones and all of this. It was the Queen's speech, and that was it. You were in front of the TV. And I remember that year, I don't know whether you can remember, when the Annus Horribilis speech.
The fight after the fire and the...
Yeah, I mean, she was broken by that. She was really broken by that. But she got through it. She just, again, like you said, Danielle, an incredible strength of the woman to get through what she did. And a lot of people have been banging on about this Andrew situation, and she's stayed too quiet and that, or defended him. She's never come out and defended him. How do you know what she feels about him? We don't know what's gone on behind the scenes with that, so you don't have any right to comment, as far as I'm concerned. The Andrew and Fergie situation.
I love the Royals, me. I can't lie. I love them.
She got through that. The fact is that she's dealt with so much crap, but still come out of it with incredible dignity.
I love Fergie. She always rocks up, didn't she, for a good occasion?
She put a lovely
what I mean?
post out, by the way.
Didn't she? I love her.
She put an absolutely lovely post out. And people will come back and say, well, she's going to do that, isn't she? She's passed away. But she didn't have to. But what she put out, and still calls her the mother-in-law, and always calls her mother-in-law, and always says there's such lovely things. And she mentioned our personality, and what a joy she was to be with, and things like that. So I think, yes, when she's out in public, she's the Queen. She has to have a certain persona. But behind closed doors, I agree with you, Danielle. I think she was one of those probably, especially with William Harry, she was probably that hip hop granny, that you think of, like, just sort of having fun and being a bit jokey with them all the time, and especially sort of major family gatherings and stuff like that.
And that's what it was, because they were talking yesterday about Balmoral and all of the summers that they've spent there as a family, of every summer for as long as you could imagine, and how even recently, they've had barbecues there, and she's sat and done the dishes herself. Like, there's no air and graces. You wouldn't think that, someone like the Queen would do that, but that's what she did. So I just feel really, I feel quite shocked still that she's not here, and I keep talking and saying, when she's in residence or and I think I have to stop myself and think, God, she's not there. Like, I can't even believe it. It's absolutely shocking.
And you have to say as well, some of the speeches that we've seen from other leaders of other countries have been incredible. Joe Biden, who gets a lot of flack, absolutely incredible. What he said was really nice. Obviously, the French leader came out and said something really nice. Look, I know they're going to say nice things, but Biden's was very heartfelt, I think. And even the politicians, I think Liz Truss, when she came out last night and outside of Downing Street and said what she said, she's been in the job one day and she's had to, do a speech on Her Majesty passing away. I mean, she held herself with so much dignity. I thought it was a really good speech. And I think, would I rather have her or Boris making that speech? There's no doubt about it that Liz Truss would handle us. But even Boris, to be fair, said his announcement and speech was really good as well. So it just goes to show how many hearts she actually did touch, because you look back to the Manchester bombing, at the arena, which my niece and sister-in-law were at. They'll be scarred for life from that event. But the Queen went to see the injured in hospital. She didn't have to do that. And it just, these type of things that she'd put herself out for. And somebody put in the comments earlier on that, she was fixing engines during the war.
Of course, she was the first female leader to do so.
Just incredible woman. So, it really is, Tiger, that is a disgraceful thing to say, mate. And I'm not even putting it on the screen. You should be ashamed of yourself for saying that. Look, don't say things like that in this channel, mate, because that's just a disgusting thing. I know you're part of the channel a lot, but that is absolutely shocking. You need to have a word with yourself, mate.
Just show some respect, please.
Exactly. You don't have to put that in the chat. Just keep it to yourself. I'm not putting any crappy comments on. It's as simple as that. She deserves better than that. Disgraceful. Indeed. So anyway, we've said our part. We've 40 odd minutes in. We've got some wonderful memories of the Queen, which will stay with us guys for a lifetime. Like I say, we'll remember London 2012 because I think that was superb what she did with Daniel Craig.
It's just amazing. She's just funny though, isn't she? Good evening, Mr. Bond.
The way it was the way she did it though. The acting. She didn't have to act. She was just being herself. And Daniel Craig was brilliant with her. And apparently they formed a really, really good friendship after that. Daniel Craig has been to see her numerous times after that, which is incredible. But just because she's Queen, it doesn't mean she can't have friendships with people. The way she's dealt with all the US presidents that have come in, when Kennedy visited, I think, he was under serious scrutiny at the time for what he was doing behind people's backs and things like that. But, and then
look what she did with the Saudis.
With the Saudis,
so when the Saudis turned up and it was all very controversial.
I'm driving,
and she drove them around the estate in a car because obviously it was frowned upon at that time for women to drive in their country. So she thought, well, I'm just going to drive you around in my car because this is how we work in Britain. So,
although they were quite pleased with the Prince kept driving them.
Well, yeah, he did have a bit of a reputation for crashing things. But even the guy, you talk about bravery. But the handshake with the guy from the IRA, I mean, that was...
Spoke a lot about forgiveness, didn't she?
Exactly.
And about hindsight.
And I think that helped a lot, and just the bravery to do something like that just said everything about the woman that you needed to know, that she was all for forgiveness. She was all for trying to mend bridges and peace and things like that. And we know she was devastated with what's going on in the Ukraine because... she wanted to avoid wars and things like that. And she was just all for peace. And which, she'll forever, ever be our ray of sunshine, no matter, what now. And I just really hope and pray that Charles just just goes into the role and becomes that beacon of light that people have seen Elizabeth. You know, just become that.
And I think with Charles,
point.
you know, like, I think deep inside he's got a heart of gold. I honestly believe that. I've seen documentaries with him and Camilla just after they got married, where you saw a very different side to Charles that you'd ever allowed, you know, to be out in the public domain before, where he was very, especially, you know, the work he does with the Prince's Trust and all of that. And I just think, you know, he will become a monarch that can have that kind of translation to the normal people in the country. Like, he will. I know he will. I have every faith that the Queen has done everything she's done to get him to where he needs to be. So
absolutely,
yeah, I'm fully behind him.
Tiger, I'm going to say it again. You know, comments that you're putting in the chat. I'm sorry, but please don't watch this channel anymore. As far as I'm concerned, you've just disappeared from all my estimations, mate. Comments like you're putting in there are utter disgusting, and you really should have a word with yourself. You know, keep them to yourself. Whatever your beliefs are, you don't have to put crap like that
just have
in
some
my
respect
chat.
that the monarch's passed away,
exactly.
please.
You don't put bollocks and bullshit like that in the chat. Get off the channel. Simple as that. Absolute disgrace. I can't believe that people are like that. I just can't. And I shouldn't get so annoyed at it. But, you know, when we're doing a show like this, and I see comments like that, it really does my head in. She meant an awful lot to me, and I don't care what anybody says. Some of the royals don't, but she damn well did. So,
and apart from the obvious characters, I love them all, me.
Honest, exactly.
Paul, you represent your country in sport. We've got plenty of people in the chat that represent the country as servicemen and women. You know, there's a lot of people you offend inside with such crass remarks. It's not needed.
I mean, you will have seen what's coming, Billy. So just
and I don't want to see it.
Exactly.
I'll just lose me head and it's not worth it.
Oh, Stephen, I'm not reading that out about Meghan. You keep your honestly, Jesus Christ. People rile me up so much, man. Honestly, I have to bite my tongue.
But I think, do you know what? People will always have an opinion on Meghan, and people had an opinion 25 years ago about Charles and that whole thing. But
you know what, Danielle, I don't mind people having an opinion. I really don't. And you know, it's you know, free speech, all that. That's fine. But when we're doing a show like this, that is not the time. So you know what I mean? It's pathetic. Anyway, we'll talk about a little bit of Newcastle United tonight. And of course, we have signed a goalkeeper on loan, Loris Karius.
And that came out of nowhere.
Yes, it did.
That's what he said in the Champions League final.
Sorry, Billy?
That's what he said when he was in Champions League final.
Oh, God. But I think that's the problem, isn't it? People will just remember him for that match. And honestly, when you look and you think how he must have felt, I mean, God, just incredible. But look, Darlow's gone down, and we don't know how long he's going to be out for. He's going to be out for a while. You know, the talking after the World Cup now.
His ankle
ligaments, yeah.
Right.
Which can be, you know, it could be a number of months. It could be the rest of the season. You just don't know with ligaments. So I think bringing Karius in is probably a good move. A lot of people will start to shout and bring Dubravka back, Danielle, but apparently they can only bring him back in the January transfer window. But he doesn't want to be here. And he said a million times that he doesn't want anybody who's not committed to the club. He doesn't want that bad feeling in the dressing room.
Yeah, the last thing you want is a dressing room with an unhappy player in it, because it just causes negativity and really fights against everything that's been built up so far. So I, to be honest, even in January, I probably wouldn't call him back anyway if we were in a similar situation.
Yeah.
I think I trust the club to make the right decision, and I think bringing him in has.
Absolutely. Zishan, thank you for your $17.99 super chat, matey. May Her Majesty RIP. Just wanted to say life is too short. Be nice to each other. If you're not talking to family members, forget everything and make up straight away. Even if it's not your fault, be the bigger person. And I think that's right. You know, if anything, hopefully good comes out of this, Billy, it's going to be that people can, you know, look at it and think.
Yeah, right, don't ask me this question.
Well, yeah, I'm not. Some, Billy, some. Danielle, you know what family you're part of, so
I know.
you know, and you always will be. But hopefully, this can make people think, Billy.
Absolutely. She was a reconciling character, wasn't she? I mean, while she was here, as you've all, you both said and I've said as well. Really, we're not royalists as such, but we couldn't help but admire the Queen and love the Queen. You know, she had that unique.
You know what I love? A royal wedding, me. Love it.
Yeah.
Oh, buffet, the lot. It's got to be done, man. Mm-hmm.
But she had that unique ability to be able to make people like her and kind of look up to her and respect her and love her for what she was, the monarch of our country. Even though, as I've said before, it's not really what I would stand for as far as privileged people go. But she overdid that. She was above that kind of argument.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that she had a bit of a rough ride lately. Obviously, her husband dying and the Harry and Meghan stuff and her son and what have you. But generally, over the last 70 odd years, she's dealt with everything perfectly at the right time and with grace and dignity every time.
Absolutely. Gary Wishart makes a good point. Thanks for your £5 super chat, Gary. He says, just in case you weren't aware, of course, William and Catherine are now the Prince and Princess of Wales.
It's just fantastic, isn't it?
I couldn't think of two better people to represent the Prince and Princess of Wales.
You know what I think about Catherine, right? You know, on the day they got married, she just looked like she'd been taken out of a Disney princess movie straight into the wedding. She's just the absolute, like, I don't know what word I'm looking for, but exactly what you would imagine a princess to look like. Like, in the way she carries herself, the way she has that element of being for the people, and the way she has patience and she's talking to people and does her research before she meets you. And I love it. I love her.
Look, I think V, thank you very much for your £4.49 as well. She says, thank you for doing this show, guys. Love and strength to all those in mourning. Indeed, wonderful thing to say. With regards to Kate, I think, or Catherine, I don't know what William probably knows her as Katie or whatever she calls. They might have.
He calls her Catherine, doesn't he?
Yeah, but
Irving Dawes.
Yeah, he might call her the old ball and chain behind the scene. You know what I mean? Just have a laugh with her.
You too.
Even Susan. I'll be getting an arse kicking for that, by the way. But I always joke about it with that.
Wait for the text.
It's not too bad. You know, she does. I mean, I don't know whether you guys agree, but she and listen, I know we've divulged away from Newcastle United again, but I don't care. This is a one-off show that will never happen again in our lifetime. Well, hopefully not. Michael, thank you very much. £60 super chat. Thank you so much, buddy. By the way, you forgot to take Susan's dog with you the other night. Bloody shit too.
You're trying to offload the dog again, Paul?
Me? Never. No, we're going back to Kate. I think, you know, she, from what I remember of Diana, right, the way Diana presented herself, what Diana did, I see so much of her in Kate.
I do.
It's incredible. You know, the way she acts in public, the way she talks, the way she just looks like that rock in William's life, you know, and there's no doubt about it that William will have had to have that rock for certain things over the last few years. And she just seems like that perfect. They just seem perfect together. You know, there's none of this like went on with Charles and Diana. There was always rumors about them. There was always people weren't sure. Stephen Nutkin, thank you for your £4.49. We may disagree on some things, Paul, but have a pint on me, mate. Thank you very much, Stephen. Really appreciate that. Look, as you said, me and Danielle had a discussion this afternoon that we didn't agree about, but we're still family. You know what I mean?
We can agree to disagree.
We disagree on things. Not everybody's going to agree in life. But no, I don't know what you guys think, but I just think that there's so much of those two. I think when, you know, William does eventually become king, which is going to happen at some point again, I think those two will just be, you know, you're talking a completely different entity, really, to what even Charles is now. You know, you've got those two coming up, and it will appeal more to the youthful side. Danielle, I don't know. Before you answer that, though,
I just think the nation has William and Kate in their hearts. and close to them. So there's a special relationship there, be that, you know, what happened with Diana or whatever, and the kind of journey that he's had. But there's just something special there between the public and William and Kate. So I think when, God forbid, when the time comes, we don't want to be doing that anytime soon.
No.
That the nation will embrace them and it'll be the start of something special in the monarchy. But right now, I mean, he's the Prince and Princess of Wales, which is amazing. Obviously, William's having to step up to do a lot of Charles' responsibilities.
And you just know as well, Danielle, when the time comes, when the kids are a bit older, she is going to go out and do exactly what Diana did. She's just the same kind of gold-hearted, wonderful person.
But then again, I wouldn't want to get on a bad side mind, because I bet you she'll
rule the roost. There's no doubt about it. Rickard Anderson, thank you for your 50 kroner. He says Queen Elizabeth got a complete era named after her. Do you think the same will happen? Sorry, Queen Victoria got a complete era named after her. Do you think the same will happen with Elizabeth? Mark Hope, thank you for your £4.49 super chat. He says, hi guys, when I was 20 I was going to join the Royal Navy. It would have been an honor to serve Her Majesty. RIP. You know, going back to that earlier point, I think, you know, Elizabethan times, you could, I mean, without a doubt, I mean, she ruled for 70 years. Why, you know, nobody has ever ruled for as long as her. So of course she'll get, I'd find it very bizarre if she didn't, to be honest.
You'll notice it on things like bargain hunt or antiques, whatever. I'm not an antiques roadshow, but back where an expert will say this is from the Elizabethan
era. Big fan, Billy?
Not really, but they'll say the Elizabethan era stuff here will be worth a lot.
You can imagine Billy rifling through his house looking for antiques, can't you?
Well, Elizabethan era, not really, no.
Yeah. Susan's actually got this old Nintendo, right? that came into a charity shop. It's one of the original Nintendos with I think it's Mario Brothers 3 game still stuck in it. And you know, if she takes that to a place now, she'll be, and this is the Nintendo from the Elizabethan era. You know, it sounds strange to say, but you know, I mean, it's. Oliver says, let's not be sad. The Queen is in the best place now. She's at peace with Prince Philip. That's what she would have wanted. Remember, the anthem was originally God Save the King. So it's meant to switch. Interesting. Brendan McCoy, thank you. Welcome to the Members Club, matey. Thank you for becoming a member. I know this is a very, very different show to what the Toon Review normally does, but you know, we've mentioned Carriers. There's nothing else going on at Newcastle, so it seems appropriate. You know, we've got over 400 people watching on a Friday night, which is again outstanding. And like I say, we hopefully will never have to do a show like this again. I mean, we probably, you know, I mean, Charles is 73, but we don't want to even think about that because he's good. He'll put himself heart and soul. Ashley 80 says she was an amazing as a human, wise, strong, and took no rubbish. Wish we had more like her in this world, a true angel. Yeah, that's a good point. You know, it's you know, if other that's what I mean. Other countries, you look at some of the leaders of other countries and how horrible their situations are in life. And you look at ours, and I mean, I know, you know, you look at the Prime Minister for sort of politics and things like that, but as a leader, you know, you look at somebody who would stand up and be counted when things weren't going well for the country.
Even at 14 years old, though, she addressed the nation as a child about the war and children being evacuated and reassuring the nation that everything would be okay. Like 14 years old, like. My God, you can't even wrap your head around that at that age, going through something in that situation. So indeed.
Andrew says, useless trivia. The new King's face will face the opposite way to the Queen's on coins. Interesting.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. No Alex with Royal Stats. No, he probably did have a few tonight, I would imagine. Kare, thank you for your 50 kroner, mate. As usual, Elizabeth was good to England, but King Paul, Queen Danielle, and Prince Billy is enormous and best on YouTube. Oh, thank you so much.
Sweet.
Definitely. There's not a person on the planet who won't know or be touched by a passing. That is the mark of majesty, if you ever doubted what it was. Okay. Yeah, and I think that the fact that the way the world has responded. I mean, even, you know, I watched on, Dwayne Johnson put something on Instagram. Wonderful speech, and just people just coming from all angles talking about her, Billy. That's what she did. She touched everybody.
Well, even Vladimir Putin said he wouldn't be able to attend the funeral. Not he's been invited anyway, but his spokesman said that the Queen stood out as a leader in a time where the world is sadly short of them, which I thought was
I have a feeling
apt.
if Putin ever faced Her Majesty, she would give him a good slap across the face, I would imagine, and to pull your act together.
As soon as he leaves the country, he'll be arrested anyway. But he said he wouldn't be able to attend the funeral. But his spokesman said the Queen was a huge presence in world leadership at a time where there was sadly a lack of world leaders, which is quite apt considering who his kind of boss is. He's quite right, actually.
Brendan McCoy, thank you for your £10 super sticker, matey. Really kind. Thank you so much, buddy. C Stock says King Charles also has a terrific sense of humour. He did a skit back in the day with the Goon Show.
Oh, really?
I don't remember that, but if he
you
did,
see him on EastEnders, that was class. That.
Yeah, look, I think he's done a few things which certainly, as you said earlier, Danielle, it dictates that he does have a great sense of humour. Someone that you'd, behind closed doors again when you're not in the public eye, because people like them, they have to have a certain persona in the public eye, but behind closed doors, they're probably just like any other family. I could just imagine Charles getting his feet up, watching Match of the Day, and then Camilla sitting there doing her knitting and just all that kind of stuff, and she'll be making Sunday dinner, all of this, and you just don't know, do you? Because you don't get to see that kind of thing. But I think that goes on. It has to, because they're just like any other family. Tony says, when will the coronation be, do you think? I think, Danielle, it will be sooner than what happened with Queen Elizabeth. I think it'll be, possibly, the early months of next year even.
Maybe. I mean, I'm not an expert on the coronations and stuff, so I don't know how long these things take or the protocol and whatever needs to happen. But I mean, it's just a formality. So he's already king. He was king the second after she passed. So, I mean, I can't. For the impression that I got from Charles tonight, from his address, he just looks like a man that's got a lot on his shoulders. And I just wish him well.
The funeral will be the main thing, won't it? I mean, that's the first thing that Charles will have to oversee and being, not so much instructed on, because I think the family will have a big say in what goes on, certainly for the funeral. I don't mind that kind of thing. I think if Charles can actually be that guy and be that stand-up guy, I think it'll be pretty incredible. But he does have so much on at the minute, and that's just, I guess, he's been thrust into the job and with immediate effect. 1 minute he's grieving the loss of his mum, and then within 24 hours he's back in London, greeting the public, shaking all the hands,
addressing the nation, meeting the Prime Minister.
Yeah. I mean, he's had so much to do. I mean, do you worry that things are, he's obviously having to do things very, very quickly, Danielle? So do you worry that it he may just sort of, I don't know, burn himself out, if you like, in these early stages?
I think he kind of made clear in his speech tonight that, his job has changed now. And as a result of that, he's had to pass on a lot of his responsibilities that he had before to other people.
Yeah.
I.e. William and, the members of the family to pick up. So I think he's been prepared for certain kind of aspects of this happening, and what he would do with certain situations and certain things that he looks after, for example. So no, I'm not worried about it. I think, everything will be dealt with quickly in terms of responsibilities and who's doing what. But yeah, I think it's going to be difficult for them until, the funeral, and then the 7 days mourning after the funeral, and then kind of the work that's the part for any family, isn't it? That's difficult when the world just seems to be carrying on and your life isn't, because you've lost somebody so close. And I think that'll probably be difficult for him.
I do have a funny story that Charles.
2 seconds, Billy. Spike Milligan, thank you very much for your £10 super chat. He says, I spent the last 50 years serving my country and thought I'd earned my retirement. The Queen outdid everyone with her prince. R.I.P. Absolutely. Go on,
It's
Billy.
a lovely comment.
People doubting Prince Charles's sense of humour. There's a story I read on Twitter today, which is absolutely hilarious. I will tell it. There is a bit of profanity in it, but not a lot. But he went to see. He was in Balmoral.
Review, Billy. I wouldn't worry about
And
that.
it's Friday night, so
He went to see a councillor, local political councillor in Balmoral, in wherever the village is called. And apparently, in Balmoral, the royal family have an enemy family on neighbouring ground. They're called the Gordons, but I'm not sure what the place is called. But they're called the Gordons.
that makes us laugh. I don't know why,
Right?
but anyway.
So she's talking to this councillor, and he said, "How would I go about having a meeting with Mr. Gordon?" And she said, "Well, I don't know. Just go and speak." Why'd you ask? He said, "Well, the other day I was sitting on my land, but over the wall, slightly on his land, and I was painting a picture. And Gordon came across in his tractor, full steam ahead, and stopped his tractor, got out in front of me. This is true. This is absolutely as I read it this morning." And the councillor said, "Yeah, what did he do then?" He said, "Well, do you know what? He told me to fuck off." She said, "What? Really?" And they were shocked at the language he'd used. And the husband said, "What did you do?" He said, "Well, I fucked off, obviously." And that was and that was his joke, like just absolutely hilarious. That the Prince of Wales at the time could say that and crease the two councillor and his husband up. Brilliant.
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing what Charles does. I must admit, I'm quite interested in what he does and how he comes across to the country and how the other royals react, really. And you know, there's certain ones that I really don't want to have in the public eye for obvious reasons.
And I think those particular people won't be in the public eye. I think that's done already.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much done. But you know, the ones that obviously I really love to see more of Harry. I really hope they can sort that out, and not so much, like I said before, Harry and Meghan coming back into the fold, but being part of the family. You know, just hopefully, you know, Charles and Harry can just get that closeness back. I think it's awful sometimes when you see that kind of thing going on. And but look, William and Kate, I think you know, I love them too. I absolutely love them. I think the way the little one went on at the
little Louis,
concert,
he's so
I mean,
funny, man.
You know, I mean, Kate was having to bite her tongue there because she was at the
But
point
you know,
to smack
what
his
I
ass.
found it really funny is that they just passed him down the line and eventually got Charles, and obviously
Charles,
that's it. Like, you're a granddad now. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, the messing over's finished now. Absolutely, went
and
down
that's
the
what
whole
I mean
line.
about a normal family. You know, when things like that happen and you see them in the public eye like that. When he's been just like a normal little boy, just very hyper, very sort of, you know, obviously it was getting into the night and he was getting tired and he was getting grumpy. And Kate was like trying to calm him down. Then William did the same. And suddenly he just was sort of, next time the camera panned on him, he was with another member of the family. And then obviously he ended up with Charles and he didn't seem to move when he was with Charles. And it's that kind of thing that you laugh. Now, Geordie, I was going to mention this before. Geordie Howe-Earman says, rumour has it the train carrying the Queen to London is travelling the East Coast main line, travelling slowly for well-wishers to throw flowers. That's a thing. I was just saying to Ben this morning before we went to Leeds on the train that there's going to be so many people turn up at various stations and various parts along the line.
They'll be going through Cramlington.
And just throwing flowers at the train. Because apparently... I've heard that they possibly will be sending another train behind it to gather up all the flowers or whatever the throw at the train. So that's going to be interesting. And you know, me coming, obviously Durham has a station. It's not that big, but it's going to be full. It's going to be incredible. Now I'm wondering when are they going to make it public knowledge, or are they just going to send that
Paul, man, they'll have a Sky News, man. They'll have the helicopter in the air following the train. You know what it's like these days. You can't get out.
Your best bet is find a bridge overhead and see it coming from one side and throw your flowers on as it goes underneath.
Well, I'm pretty sure that there is a second train which will clean the lines, obviously, for other trains to run that, once she's gone past. That's going to be something that we've never seen, Danielle.
Oh, I know. I mean, I talk like I'm going to go and do it, but I won't, because I'm a bit like weirded out with stuff like that. Like, I don't know. I'll watch it on the TV though. Absolutely, of course I will. But yeah, I mean, it's very. As soon as we see a coffin or we see something that represents the fact that she is dead. I mean, I know that's a weird thing to say because everyone said it. Charles has said it, but I think there's the thing with Diana as well, when she passed away and they brought her body back off that plane, that was the moment that everybody kind of took, gasped and took breath, because they thought, actually, this is really happening now. So I think that
is something I'll never forget, is when Diana passed.
And I remember Charles, because Charles went over to bring her back.
It was the Saturday she passed away. She died, wasn't it?
Saturday night, wasn't
it? In the morning, yeah.
We had a I was at Whitley Bay, playing for Whitley Bay at the time, and I remember we had a 2-minute silence before the game on the Sunday night, and that was the most emotional 2 minutes I think I've had in up until then in my lifetime. You couldn't hear a pin drop, and you kind of looked around the ice rink, and it was packed, but not one single sound. No sound from the cafe, no sound from in the stands or anything. It was just silent. And then they played the national anthem, and you could see people in the crowd physically crying, because this was a woman who would just gone to everybody's hearts, just like Queen Elizabeth has. So I think you're right. As soon as that coffin's seen, I think it'll be even more emotional for people. And I guess it'll be more closure that she's in that, and she's no longer with us.
And I think the line in state as well, that'll be sobering.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, again, it's not something that I'd want to see, mind, but
yeah, I think there's books of condolences all over the country, isn't there? And I think queues for that will be absolutely phenomenal.
There's an online one as well that you can sign there, and then
there is. Jeanette Johnson, thank you for your £5 super chat, chick. She says, hi guys, love the respect. The strength and humour came from her northeast blood. Bose Lions. She loved NUFC. Maybe she did. Visa's waking up to the news of Diana's passing will stay with me forever, as it will for many, many people.
I can just remember. I can remember back in them days, we used to get the newspapers delivered, and I can remember the newspaper coming through the door, and it had like a little magazine thing that came with it, and it was just back to front of Diana's pictures from our holiday. And I remember my dad going absolutely mental and ripping the magazine up into tiny pieces because it was all their fault, and he's putting it in an envelope and sending them back to whichever paper it was, calling them all murderers and stuff. I remember that. I just remember thinking, what the hell is happening like in this country? I just remember the massive outcry of emotion.
I've never known anything like it, which is why I think the line is in state, but the funeral itself is going to be so emotional for so many people who've grown up with the Queen, and like we've literally grown up. She's all we've known. And I think that's the weird thing. You look back at certain, shows on Netflix, and I can't remember what it was called.
The Crown?
The Crown. I watched that. And I really enjoyed it, actually.
Is it good?
Yeah. Some of it's
fictional,
some of it's factual, but it is really good. And it sort of starts off when obviously she was just born, and it sort of goes through her life, but it's when the King was there and
so when does the good stuff happen? What series do I need to start watching?
It was good straight away. It was good straight away because it gives an insight. The factual stuff about what Queen Elizabeth did before she was Queen. And a family
my weekend viewing sorted out.
I really enjoyed it. I
now that we've got more football.
Did. Exactly. I did enjoy it. FTM Uncovered, the People's Music channel, says, great show, guys. A beautiful tribute to the Queen. Not sure if you could play this on the show. The Queen addressing the nation at 14 years old was incredible.
Wow.
I think it's pretty much out there for everybody to listen to, wherever you go. I was going to a Sedgefield car boot sale. The news came on about Diana, and we didn't go. I think the whole country just froze, to be honest.
I can remember getting back from clubbing because I was only 29 at that time. Trying to watch one of the 15 tellies in front of me, kind of like that.
These kebab.
And with me kebab me, and seeing Dermot Murnahan kind of say something serious has happened and this and the other. And then I went to bed. There was rumours of her being okay, so I went to bed. When I woke up in the morning, hungover, put the radio on, and there was all this chamber music on. Christ, it was hard. It was hard going, and I had to go into the church on the way to the club next night. Strangely enough, that sounds odd, but just to go in and grieve, and I did. I went into the church, my local church, on the way to the club, and grieved. And there was people in there that kind of helped me through it. It's fantastic, the help they gave me. But that week between her dying and the funeral was absolutely horrendous.
Horrendous.
The one thing that sticks out for me about Diana's funeral is Elton John's "Candle in the Wind" song that he wrote. I've sung that version a few times at karaoke's and stuff, and it's.
Do you know what stuck out for me?
Go on.
Earl Spencer.
Yeah. Oh, he's brilliant, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And his two finger. I mean, obviously, no respect meant to the late Elizabeth.
Absolutely.
Because I'm not having that. But
no.
The kind of two fingers to the whole kind of organisation was very much, and then the rapturous applause from outside, like completely took over the Abbey. Like all you could hear was applause.
Well, my granddad loved that version from Elton John, so that song has a very sort of special meaning for me. Because everybody knows how close
I'm surprised he got through it, to be honest. I'm surprised he was able to continue.
Well, he did go off a couple of times, you could see, but he held himself together fantastic. And I was actually going to sing that song at my granddad's funeral, but I just couldn't do it. I wouldn't have got through it, no way. But I love
the
singing
original
it
as well, though.
You what? Sorry.
I like the original as well.
Yeah, I mean, I love singing it. Don't get me wrong, I really do. But
are you going to sing it now then?
No, I would cry. To be honest, the emotions that we're all feeling, I think, bloody hell, just incredible. Rob says he woke up to Diana's death after the first night with my now wife.
Oh
wow, bloody hell. The Crown is brilliant, says Rachel.
Oh, Rachel, I'm going to watch it, because I've got that to do this weekend now, have we?
Julie says I enjoyed watching The Crown. Do you know what? I'd watch it again. I think.
Oh, I'm actually intrigued. I might pull an all-nighter.
Matt Smith's brilliant. Olivia Colman.
Matt Smith's superb. I like the one before Olivia Colman, though, the one that played the kind of young queen. I think she was brilliant.
She was
absolutely brilliant. But Matt Smith was tremendous as Philip. Like he really was. He portrayed Philip.
Looked like him.
He did. That's a freaky thing. He's, when you look back at pictures now of sort of a young Philip, and my God, it's so
ridiculous.
God,
not as ridiculous as the young Prince Charles. Not as ridiculous as the young Prince Charles. What a spitting image he is.
That was freaky. I mean, to get him looking like that was incredible. Absolutely incredible. But I didn't know Charles had gone through such a difficult childhood at that age with the sort of schools and stuff.
Whoa! You're ruining it.
She's got to watch it. Paul, good evening, mate. I had the pleasure of being invited to and attending a garden party at Buckingham Palace, and also met the Queen and many other royals during my time in the forces. Wow.
You know what I've always wanted to know, right? If you get invited to one of these parties, like a Buckingham Palace, do you get like free stuff? Do you get like a little party bag or something?
See, I'd sort of slice something into the, if me and Susan went, I'd make sure Susan had a decently sized, handbag. I mean, decently sized. I'm talking like a shopping bag. Yeah, I would imagine so. Yeah, but slide that pen into your bag, Susan, or that glass, and just have a nice glass of rosé.
I didn't know that. In the months that the monarch's not at Buckingham Palace, that you can actually go on tours of Buckingham Palace. So a colleague of mine at work went on a tour last weekend, actually, and she said she was in the blue room, whatever that is, a drawing room maybe, and she said there's a secret door. I mean, I want to go in that secret door.
Well, they've got secret tunnels in case the Germans
invade. Well, I need to go in them tunnels. Like that's what I mean. Like I love that kind of stuff, me. Like
in case the Nazis invaded England, there was escape routes for them through these tunnels to get away.
Review next summer goes to Buckingham Palace.
Yeah. Tangy says he's never got away with Prince Charles because he always loved Camilla despite being with Diana. He was I don't know. I think looking at watching The Crown, things like that, you kind of look and think, wow, was he forced into it kind of thing? Because it's clear that Camilla was the love of his life from a very, very early age.
Absolutely clear. It's still
it's clear in the show as well.
This is the way I look at it. So, in terms of Charles and Diana and everything that happened with that, if William is able to move on with his life and have such a close relationship that he has with Camilla, then that suits me down to the ground. Like I'm happy with that. Absolutely. If he's happy with that relationship, and as far as I'm aware, he has quite a very close relationship with Camilla. So if it's acceptable to him, then I'm I'm fine with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Malcolm says, I was in a compromising position with my girlfriend at the time when her son burst in shouting, the princess is dead, the princess is dead. I think probably a lot of people were, given the time it was announced.
It broke like at early hours, or didn't it?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Billy coming out of a nightclub. I mean, people, hooked up in nightclubs and there was.
I mean, I
remember there was no social media back then. There was nothing.
I was hooked up to a kebab, nothing else.
Yeah, okay, Billy. I don't believe you for a second.
I've got that looking at the 15 tellies.
Yeah. Karia says we need to vote if we want to hear Paul sing. I want to hear. Paul, I was awake in the early morning at 2 a.m. listening to the radio and I was shocked. Diana was so special and William and Harry are a credit to her. They
Absolutely.
are. And that image of them walking behind the coffin, how they managed to do that, I'll never know. I really never know. It was just unbelievable. Unbelievable. Mike says, nice show, heartfelt, Paul, Danny, Billy, Stalin, Putin, Trey. Jesus Christ.
Sure, you don't want to put Hitler in there. Just give it a bit of
You may as well. Yeah, absolutely. Dear me, honestly. Tom says Danielle needs to do some reaction videos to episodes of The Crown.
My film one?
Yeah.
Watch along.
When I'm watching it.
Watch along, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm really excited, because I was thinking this weekend, what will I do? Because there's no football.
There's
no fantasy Premier League to worry about. Like,
absolutely.
What am I going to do?
People will be wanting you to come back next week and give a full lowdown on what you thought of The Crown.
I bet you I'm like, how many series is it there? Like
4, isn't it?
I reckon I'll be at least 2 series in. I mean, when's the next show?
Well, Sunday night, hopefully. We'll do one Sunday night. Look, we'll put some shows together when the football's off just to
Can we do a fantasy? Let's do a fantasy show.
Yeah, we can do a fantasy show Sunday night and have a look at it.
No harm in. I don't think that's disrespectful.
Well, I'm not too keen on doing it either, Billy, to be honest. But those Cramlington people will love it. But there you go. Paul says no party bags, Danielle, but the food is lovely and free, as are the drinks. Did you get
vol-au-vents? I bet there was vol-au-vents.
Oh, there'll be out of vol-au-vents, of course. Madame, would Madame want a vol-au-vent? You just know that they're walking around there with the silver trays and vol-au-vent. Got to leave via the front as well, so loads of tourists taking our pics probably thought we were special.
How exciting.
Paul, you are special, my friend.
He is. I've met him a few times.
How amazing is that, though? I mean,
I know.
would they never let us in? Would they? I mean,
yeah, it's just incredible. Tangy says, "Yeah, we live in modern times, and a lot of families have their own issues at times. The royals are no different."
Absolutely, amen.
Indeed, David. I would usually have something a bit stronger to say myself, but not right now. I have no idea what that is about. I might join you, Danielle, and rewatch it. There is 4 series, Daniel.
Listen,
4 series you've got to get
through. You don't know how quickly I got through Viva, and it was like 10 series of them. I was getting up at 3 a.m. man to watch one before work. Couldn't help it.
And they're making a 5th now, but they've stopped production obviously for respectful reasons. So
yeah,
there's going to be a 5th one.
Yeah. Because it needed finishing, didn't it? It wasn't in the right place to finish it.
The only downside is really I haven't had enough notice to prepare snack-wise, but I can make do.
Oh, just whatever, peanuts.
Coronation chicken.
Yeah, there you go. Absolutely. Soli says TTR Sunday is what you can do after an emotional weekend.
We might do. Yeah, for Sunday. I mean, I don't know if it's appropriate still by then. Well, I don't know.
We'll see. Jimmy says, do a watch along to Love Island. Absolutely not. I would rather eat feces than do that. Andrew says, can we have a Toon review The Crown watch along?
Plenty of crowns here to look at.
So good.
Yeah, I've got. You know what? I'm starting to look like a monk.
But you know what it is? I'm so happy you've totally cheered us up. Because I've just finished watching Big Brother Australia, right? And I'm thinking, what am I going to watch now? And now I can watch The Crown and learn about history. I
mean, don't forget, some of it is fictional, right? It's not all factual, but there is a lot of factual stuff in there.
It will be real.
But I think, to be honest, the fictional side of it is something that I really enjoyed as well, because I think, I don't know whether you agree, Billy, but when you're watching the fictional side of it, it's fictional.
Oh well, yeah, but I'll message us in the group and you can tell us what's true and not.
Fair enough.
I fall for all the drama, me. So
Absolutely. Listen, I've enjoyed doing this show tonight because it sort of, you can talk about things and in a good way about the royal family, whether you like them or not. And it's something that you can share with the viewers and things like that.
I think it's more than that. So when somebody like the Queen or Princess Diana or even, Philip, when they pass away, it connects people to their own losses, I think, and it brings out people's emotions. And sometimes it's just good to get together and just have a conversation about it, because it's good to talk, as they say.
I mean, we've still got over 400 watching, which for a Friday night about the royal, it's really good. I've really enjoyed this.
I have.
We'll go on for a little bit longer. Jason says, I was sat with a huge spliff when Diana's accident broke on the news. I sat there for the next 3 weeks with my mouth open. Probably, Jason. Yeah. We don't condone that, by the way. No. Vera is top tier. Yeah, Susan's a big Vera fan.
Honestly, obsessed. I mean, I wasn't.
By the way, Danielle, I'm joking about Susan being a big fan. Vera was on the first time I went to Susan's house, right? Because she used to have to sneak me in once Lily fell asleep before I could meet Lily. I had to go through all the tests.
That's so cute.
Yeah. So she would text me and say, "Oh, Lily's asleep now, so you can come up," because just for that little while before you sort of meet the rest and kind of things. And Vera was on the telly. Now Susan claims that she wasn't watching Vera. But I state my cases to say, well, why was it on in the first place? So she'll deny.
I never liked it.
That she's not a Vera fan. I've never watched it.
And then one day, I was walking down the street, going to work, turned the corner to where my office is, and she was filming outside my office. And I thought, well,
she's done that a few times actually, hasn't she? She's just turned up in Newcastle and started filming, or Amble or somewhere like that in Northumberland. She'll just be suddenly these old sort of Land Rovers will turn up, and out pops Vera. I think of Vera. I think of Vera Duckworth. I just kind of like.
I just love Brenda Besson. I think she's class.
She's brilliant. Don't get us wrong. Sorry, Billy?
Vera Lynn for me.
Oh.
Well, now you are showing your age.
Probably.
Also links to the Queen, so.
Absolutely. Tom says he'd rewatch The Crown. Rachel says you'll be addicted to it, Danielle.
You will.
Julie says I got through Stranger Things pretty quickly. You know what? The kids have that on all the time. They've had it on for the last 6 months or something. To be honest, I've managed to watch the whole series, but not all together. I've watched like series 4, then series 2's been on, then series 1's been on, and then they've put series 3 back on. So I've watched it all, but not in order, which is a bit bizarre. And now they're watching Teen Wolf. Which where I've got my desk and setup, the TV's just over my shoulder, so I keep looking at it thinking, what the hell is that on the TV? I've seen some guy with sort of 70s sideburns and big teeth. It's bizarre.
Sounds like Jurgen Klopp.
It could be. It really could be. Now, I have to mention this. I just have to mention this because I met someone today.
God.
Very bizarre, I have to say. I'm sitting coming home on the train from Leeds, right?
As you do.
And Ben's fast asleep. Now, people have probably seen this on every social media platform possible that I've posted it on. But sitting there, and Ben's fast asleep, and there's a fella sitting opposite Ben, and I've got a lass from Darlington sitting in front of us who was very talkative and lovely. When you sort of meet strangers and you talk, and she was, telling her boyfriend where to park at the train station and stuff like that. And then I found out her boyfriend was a big Toon Review fan, which was bizarre alone. But then we look up and I see someone who I kind of had to double take. I thought, nah. And of course it was Mr. Sam Fender, who then starts talking to everyone on the train, just like he's one of the lads, so down to earth. And at the first time, I mean, people in the on the WhatsApp groups will know that I put my phone up as if I was sort of, typing away, but at a sort of higher vantage point than anyone would probably use the phone taking pictures, because I thought, why not? But he kept looking over, and I thought, oh shit, he's seen us taking pictures. I'm going to get wrong here because there were some burly men with him. It's fair to say, but his group was there with him. And then all of a sudden, the lass gets off the train, and while she walks past him, asks him for a selfie. And of course, he's no bother. Really nice. And then the conversation, he came over and went, "You're that Toon Review fella." So out of complete shock, I turned around and said, "You're that Sam Fender fella." Don't ask me where it came from. It came from. But I have to say, by the way, what a guy. I mean, this guy is probably at the top of his game right now. He's sold out St. James's Park twice. But what an amazing guy. Even the older people that were sitting in the carriage he was talking to everybody, just talking about his shows and his background and what he'd been doing. And just an incredible, incredible guy. And normally, he's done a few interviews, it's fair to say, when he's been, like Danielle, slightly on the old good stuff. But,
same day as well, takeover day. He was steaming then, wasn't he, on breakfast TV?
Well, when he went for breakfast TV the day after, my God, he was still hammered, and he was like,
that feeling.
Yeah, and he was, but seeing him today, I know he doesn't do YouTube stuff or anything like that. He's just, it's fair enough. Some people don't. But he was just talking to everyone. And then this Chinese young lass sitting on the other side of the carriage turned to him and said, "So do you sing?"
Yeah.
And she was just so innocent, didn't have a clue. And then he went, "Yeah, I'm a singer-songwriter." He was lovely with her. And he was like, and so she was like, so what do you do? And so what's your name? And he didn't want to shout it out, so he kind of just sort of whispered it to her. He's like, "I'm Sam Fender." And then suddenly her eyes lit and went, "Oh, I listen to you on Spotify all the time. I've seen you on the TV." And she was sort of just all like gooey. But he sat and spoke to her for ages, just talking about, about where he was from. And he was asking her about, where she'd come from and things like that. And just, I couldn't believe it. Just this huge star. And you've got to say it, like, people like that, he could have just stood there or sat there and just been a stuck-up arse and just said nothing to nobody. You know what I mean? And then, of course, his saxophone player, Johnny, who wears that hat, he was at the back of the carriage. And he looked at him and he went, oh, Johnny, Toon Review. And Johnny, all I saw was him pop up and go, "Oh, all right." Incredible. And then, of course, before we left, I got that, which, and my eldest daughter, Olivia, now actually hates me because I sent her that as soon as I took that. And she's obviously a massive Sam Fender fan. And she was like, "Tell him I'm single and tell him I'm desperately trying to get tickets." And the fact that Olivia, the main thing that she took from that photo was that Sam Fender's resting his head on mine. So it's like I touched Sam Fender, which it's safe to say Olivia was screaming at me when I got home. It was like, "My God, he's resting his head on the side of your head. You have touched Sam Fender." And I was like, incredible. But I just had to mention that, not so much because I met him, but because of what a lovely, lovely lad he was. And taking the time to speak to everybody and just, honestly, it was just incredible. I mean, I could have sat there all night and had a laugh. I'm not surprised why people just have a great night out with him whenever they go out with Sam Fender, because I could have sat there and got absolutely poleaxed, and I don't drink. But I would have quite handy there, just hit the wine or whatever it was they were serving there. But it was just brilliant. And to know, when you see a guy like that and know he's Newcastle United fan and how much he loves Newcastle United, that is incredible. The lass that was sitting opposite me, as soon as she recognized it was him, the first class, they only had one carriage and it was full because they had to cancel an earlier train. So it was full. And she got up and went, "Sam, there's a seat right here." It's like, and I sort of, God, and this fella sitting next to her, he turned around and went, "Really? It's that obvious?" And it was so funny because everybody just acted like they knew everybody. It was brilliant.
What's great about that is the Chinese girl knew who you were, but didn't know who Stan Fender was.
The Chinese girl didn't know me. It was the woman in front.
No. Okay.
But the earlier photos that I got of Sam Fender, 3 people in the carriage behind me asked me if I could airdrop them the photo, just so they could go. It was bizarre, but it was absolutely brilliant, and it just have to say top bloke, because he could have been one of those. You get them celebrities who just don't want to know. They just. You'll go up to them and say, "Oh, I just want to be private and all that." But he was just brilliant, and he had so many people in stitches of laughing, and even there was a few older women on the train, and older couples, and they were just intrigued as to what he had to say. So it was just brilliant. So hats off to Sam Fender. Thank you for the photo, and thanks for watching, mate. It's incredible. Yeah. Brilliant. But that is it for tonight, guys. Listen, there's been over 400 all night watching, which, as I say, is absolutely incredible. So thank you so much, guys, for spending the time with us. I know it's been something different on the show, but it's something that we as a channel felt we had to do, because listen, something like this doesn't happen very often. We all have memories of Queen Elizabeth over the years, since being very, very little. We've seen her on the TV. We've seen her doing various things, which she's just an incredible human being she was. So we wanted to sort of dedicate something to her. I think we got into Newcastle there for all of about 40 seconds, but that's the way it goes. It's just the way it is. There's nothing to say on Newcastle at the minute anyway.
Apart from a massive, but anyway.
Sorry?
Apart from a massive.
Oh, well, we'll always be massive, yeah.
Well, one thing about Martin Dubravka didn't want to be his number 2 goalkeeper here. So he's gone to Manchester United to be the number 3 goalkeeper of all accounts, because the reserve goalkeeper played in the European game last night and he was still on the bench. No,
De Gea played.
Did he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, De Gea played.
I've got no idea.
They kept going to Dubravka on the bench and he didn't look happy. But I thought Dubravka would have played the European games. I thought that's why he went to Man United, because he'd been promised the European games. Turns out they lost, but never mind. That's just one of them things. But listen, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We will come back and do another live on Sunday night. We'll probably do sort of a fantasy football show and have a bit of fun with that, just to start go into the new week after a pretty sad weekend. We'll try and put some smiles on your face. What the hell has happened? Billy, you froze in a position. You looked a bit weird. Anyway.
That's not very nice.
No, he froze with his tongue out and cross-eyed. It was a bit bizarre. But listen, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We really do appreciate it, and sharing your memories about the royal family. It's been absolutely fantastic. Again, some people won't agree with it, but what the hell? We do what we do.
Just show me some respect. That's all we're doing.
Absolutely. And it's been great sharing it with you. We'll end it on, of course, Susan's little video of the national anthem, and then into the final credits. But we'll take care, guys. Make the best of the weekend that you can, and give your loved ones a big hug. Sorry?
Watch The Crown.
Or watch The Crown, yeah. No doubt Sunday night, Danielle will have a lot to say after binge watching.
I'll also be very tired.
Be very tired through lack of sleep, because she'll not be able to turn it off. I guarantee you. But listen, guys, thank you so much for watching. Again, have a good weekend. Give your families a big hug, and we'll miss Queen Elizabeth very much.
We will.
Good night,
God
guys.
save the King.
God save the King.